friends, welcome back to the show. We have a special guest who's going to be joining us today, and we are going to discuss a little bit of politics. We're going to discuss a little bit of what's going on in Loudoun County. Um, I had a pleasure of meeting him at one of the school boards. We had a short talk, and he's a longtime Virginia resident, Mr. Geary Higgins, and he's running for the 10th district chair. Alongside, I'm gonna have my friend Joe join us as well. So stay tuned. Let me bring him in, and we'll have a chat. Mr. Higgins, Joe, welcome to the show. Thank you guys for joining.
Thank you for the opportunity to be with you guys tonight.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you for coming in, buddy.
Thanks, Timus. Gary, good to see you guys.
Gary, thank you for being here. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're doing, and give us a little background story of who you are and what you are doing?
Sure, Dennis. I've been involved. My wife and I first moved to Loudoun County right after we got married in 1977. We've been in the county since then and have been active in local affairs. I first got involved with elected office in 2000 when I ran for school board and was on the school board for Loudoun County from 2000 to 2004. Then later I ran for the Board of Supervisors and was on the Board of Supervisors from 2012 to 2020. And then over the last year or so, I've been involved with the 10th congressional district as the chairman.
Awesome. And everybody knows Joe. He's a man it doesn't require an introduction. So, Joe, do you want to talk about your show a little bit?
Yeah, my show's the other show that Demis is on. It's for uncloseted conservatives by uncloseted conservatives, and I'm very happy to know that we do have a number of card-carrying liberals and Democrats that tune in. So thank you guys. But it's the Joe Mobley Show. It's available in podcast form wherever you listen to podcasts, and we're live every Thursday night from 8:30 to 9:30. Of course, we're not live this Thursday night because we are going to be in food comas.
Absolutely. And before we start, guys, please hit share, subscribe, like, and the bell button so you could get notification whenever we go live and whenever we upload an episode. Gary, I'd like to ask you a question. With all the stuff that's going on in Loudoun County, what do you think the board at this point their weakness is going to be? Do you think that they're going to continue pushing their agenda, or do you think that they're going to start backing off and maybe listening to the parents of what their demands are or what they're asking for the school board to be doing?
Well, it's unfortunate, but I think they're going to stay the course. I mean, the conversations I've heard from the party that's in the majority in this county since the election basically was that we got elected, we won Loudoun County for what that's worth, I guess, the way they count. And, we're just going to do the things that we were doing. And on one hand, I think that's sad that they're not listening to the parents. On the other hand, I guess that's maybe a good thing for us to keep the pressure on them to turn things around over the next couple of election cycles, because in this last cycle, in 1 year's time, they lost 10 points. And if they lose about 5.5 more points by doing the same thing they've been doing over the past year and a half, that's going to put us in a majority. And so I think that it's unfortunate, but I don't see any real changes from them. I haven't seen any either from the Board of Supervisors or the school board. They're just sort of, claiming, well, we got Loudoun and we're going to continue to do what we did. I mean, I know Joe's been following some of this stuff with the petitions and the school board members they're working on removing or replacing. They're fighting it tooth and nail, and the left is claiming that this is some kind of a mechanism to undo the duly constituted election. Well, elected officials are expected to be held to certain standards and codes of conduct. And when they violate those codes of conduct and they violate those standards, then the process that's before us with the petitions is the lawful and right process to pursue those public elected officials if they are not doing their jobs. And it doesn't matter what party they're from. It just matters that they're not serving in the public interest.
And why do you think Ziegler hasn't resigned yet? Why do you think he's still holding the position? After all this stuff, why do you think he's holding on to that seat for as long as he can? Because quite honestly, I think with all the stuff that's been coming out, with all the scandals, with all the hiding, with all the agenda pushing, and all the stuff, I think he should have been the first one to go.
Well, I think that he's made some mistakes. I think some of them are on display for the whole world to see, and I think the longer this goes on, we're going to see more of them. But he is, when you are on the school board, you have one employee, and that employee is the superintendent of schools. And apparently, the school board is, I hesitate to use the word satisfied, but they're still satisfied with his performance, and so. They haven't done anything about it. I suspect if some of these things that we're discovering with regards to the sexual assaults and some of the other stuff that's going on now with kids being asked questionnaires or being given questions and questionnaires that their parents are supposed to be notified ahead of time, and the excuse is that, oh, we didn't know or we forgot or whatever. I mean, the more of this stuff that comes out, the more likely that pressure is going to build on the board to dismiss him, but I just don't see it in the short term. I think if a couple of the members of the board additionally are removed through the petition process, then I might think we'll see a different outcome.
Yeah, I think the chair and the deputy chair both have been papers have been filed to get them removed. Correct, as of last week.
Yeah, there was a I guess a hearing before the judge either today or yesterday. I saw the article today, and our Commonwealth's attorney is not recusing herself, and she has sent the petitions to the Board of Elections here in Leesburg to have them all verified, and unless the judge intervenes. I guess she'll stay on the case. That's like the Fox Garden, the Head House, big time.
Okay.
And in addition to that, I don't know how you can get a fair trial from somebody who actually is implicated in part of the shenanigans that was going on. I know that Fight for Schools has made motions to have her recused and have made the same motions to be able to intervene in the case, and I think those decisions are supposed to come down when they have a hearing on December 6th.
Yeah, I think they did that with Beth Bartz, and the prosecutor was recused. Like the judge removed her, or she wasn't allowed, or they weren't allowed to be part of the case.
Right.
I'm gonna shift the conversation a little bit. Have you had a chance to speak to Mr. Youngkin yet?
Have I had a chance to speak to him?
Yes.
I have had a chance to speak to him briefly, and also exchange some, text messages back and forth with him. I think we're all waking up with a smile every morning and trying to figure out what it's all about, and realizing it's because we won that election big time 2 weeks ago. So it's very exciting, and I'm excited for his administration going forward.
I think we all are. I think we needed this change because morale was really down with all the shenanigans, as we say, going on in the state. And we've been making headlines for over a year now in national TV and everywhere else. I think Loudoun County has become the known county all over the state. So
Hey, they're even starting to spell our name right. It's not Lodoun or Loudon.
Right.
Doun.
They're getting the spelling right. So here's the question. Do you think do you think Loudoun County is as divided as the entire nation, or do you think it's not the same?
I don't think it is as divided. I don't think it's as I mean, some of the politicians maybe think it is, but I don't think the people are, the Democrats want to claim it's a blue county. Well, it's obviously not. It's trending purple, and like I was saying a minute ago, we moved 2/3 of the way towards where we need to be to have a 50-50 split in the county. So, let's go back as recently as 2015, was it, when all of the elected officials in the county were pretty much Republican, except for a couple on the Board of Supervisors. So I think the issues can change, the wind can change, and I think the wind is blowing our direction with the issues. I mean, who in their right mind would have thought that the liberals on the left would go so far as to basically try to destroy what was one of the finest school systems in the country? It blows my mind. I mean, I'm getting off on a rabbit trail, but I've been involved in local politics in Loudoun here since getting elected to the school board in 1999, and there was always a bipartisan consensus that we wanted to have an excellent school system. Go look at their mission statements and their declarations about what they want to be. And this destruction of the school system has really happened in earnest over the last year and a half, almost 2 years. It probably started in 2017 when the majority of the board flipped from more conservative to more liberal, when one of the members stepped down. But the school system, in the last 2 years, it blows my mind. I mean, we've eliminated class rank. We've done away with advanced diplomas. We've dumbed down the math requirements. When I was on the school board, we actually created the Academies of Loudoun, which was to be that school like Thomas Jefferson in Loudoun County that was going to be a STEM academy for the best and brightest. And it was, going to be top drawer school probably in the country. And they've put quotas on that. We have this business with, men participating in women's activities because they feel like it that day, or they wear a dress. Worse than that is the sexual assaults we're finding about that are involved in that same kind of thing. So it's hard for me to fathom what's happened to the school system in really, less than a couple of years. And this is after I have 3 daughters that graduated from Loudoun County's high schools. They all graduated from Loudoun Valley High School. And to see this, just blows my mind.
Yeah, I mean, Loudoun County was ranked third in the nation as the best county to the school system and all that. And now as I start following the entire school process, I notice enrollment has dropped by 8,000 kids, and I recently found out we have a $2 billion budget.
That's correct. The school budget
$2 billion.
It's almost the whole county budget's about $3 billion, and the school budget is almost 2/3 of that.
That is crazy. That is crazy.
Let me tell you something else about what you just said. Demis, the enrollment in our schools have grown steadily. If you look at it, almost like a rocket ship for the last 40 years. And what you called out a second ago was the decline in enrollments. Now, they play with a lot of numbers to confuse you, but in actual numbers of students, enrollments, we are off the last 2 years by 3,000 students. We are 3,000 students less than in numbers than we were 2 years ago. But the other thing, I think, which goes to what you were saying, the projections of where we should be, because Loudoun's still the fastest growing county in Virginia and one of the fastest growing in the country. There should be another 6,300 kids in the school that
Yeah.
are somewhere else. They're not in the school. So that's almost 10,000 kids that are not in Loudoun County schools over the last 2 years. And people say, well, where are they? Well, there's private schools popping up all over the place. There's lots of homeschooling going on. I know where they aren't. They're not in the public school system.
That's right, and that's what I mean. I mean, I don't mean that they're leaving Loudoun County. I think they're either going to private schools or they're being homeschooled, and only because the public school is starting to fail, where the average student they're supposed to be learning like multiplication and division by third grade, where it has now been pushed back to like fifth grade because few kids cannot comprehend the division or multiplication. Everybody else have to be held back. And where they're trying they talked about removing advanced math, which means calculus, out of the entire curriculum in the school system, where the high schools need calculus to apply for certain universities as a prerequisites, and they're no longer allowed. They don't want to put that in the curriculum anymore. So those kids who have to have calculus or they want to take calculus to advance to a better university, they have to go to the private sector. So, they keep talking about privilege. They keep talking about race. They keep talking about, colored people, black, Hispanic, or whatever. They're saying those people are not smart enough. It's only the whites who are the smart ones, and blah blah blah. By doing this, they're disadvantaging every single kid, every color, every race, every ethnicity, every religion. Doesn't matter. Every child is going to get hurt by removing advanced courses.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. And I think it was George Bush that said the soft bigotry of lowered expectations. There's no reason why all kids can't excel. There's no reason why all kids can't compete. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with not being in the STEM academy, but there's nothing wrong with being there as well if that's what you want to be. And kids should have the opportunity to bloom where they're planted. And this interesting thing about the academies of Loudoun, they messed with the admissions process and put in place quotas from certain schools that were predominantly, I think, African American or black. And what happened in the process was less of those kids actually got into the school than did without the quotas. So they screwed up the admission price process that should have been, competitive, and it backfired on them. So I don't get that. I don't get that at all. But we can't compete in the world if we don't have, educated kids. I'll tell you what I'm really waiting to see. The school.
I think Joe just put up some statistics up here that shows a 365% increase in failing grades.
Well, I want to see all the stats from this year, the SOLs and all the rest of the numbers that, if they're out, I haven't seen them yet, because I guarantee you that they're going to be miserable. And
I absolutely agree. Look, Gary, I'll tell you this. I grew up in Iran. Okay. I spent. I was born in Iran. I lived until I was 13 years old, and there's nothing more seriously the Iranians take is the school, is education. And a lot of people don't know this. Most of the Americans don't know this. Is when Iran's revolution happened, when they became sanctioned by the entire world almost. The only thing they had was to become self-sufficient, and by doing that, which meant like they have to be educated. If you look at Iran, where it's located, it's the smartest and the most advanced country in that region, minus Russia. If you look at Iraq, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Kuwait, Turkey, did I mention Iraq? Yeah, and Azerbaijan, and all around Iran. If you look at all the countries around Iran, Iran is the most advanced out of all the countries, all these neighboring countries. So that means they take education very seriously. Majority of the population in Iran who live in the big cities have master's degree. A diploma is no longer a master's degree right now in Iran is considered as a diploma because almost everybody has it. Now, when I came here back in 1993, my brother and I, we didn't speak a word of English, but we understood math because it's a universal language. Everybody understands math. Everybody understands the excuse me, addition, subtraction, all this stuff. And when we sat in class, we didn't even open our books. The only time we opened it was for homework. But when we graduated, excuse me, when we graduated, I swear to God, we felt dumber than we started. Only because they would, it was not advanced enough for us. We were bored while we were sitting in class, but we couldn't advance because we couldn't speak English proper. We couldn't speak proper English. So, what do you think the next step should be in Loudoun County to get our kids up to speed and more advanced?
Well, I think we've got to get a school board elected and a board of supervisors that supports them, that is going to bring back a merit-based school system. And it's interesting you talk about Iran and other countries in the Middle East. The people that are excelling in Thomas Jefferson and in the academies of Loudoun are people from the Middle East, from Iran, from India, from some of lots of the other Muslim countries. Those are the people that are excelling, and it's not the white kids. And those kids are excelling, and they're pushing everybody out, and they're the ones that are getting ripped off because of these quotas. And Thomas Jefferson's doing the same thing. And these kind of impediments to excellence need to be removed, and people need to be able to do what they want to do to excel. And it ought to be about the only way. The people that have come to this country, they know that education is the key to getting ahead. During the civil rights marches in the 60s, they knew that a good education was the key to getting ahead. Now, these people that have gotten into power that are trying to bring equity to everyone, the only way you can make everybody equal is to meet the lowest common denominator. And that's just not going to work, and it's not going to be good for the kids, and it's not going to be good for the system. So we've got to get away from that wokeism. Everybody wants the same thing because everybody doesn't want the same thing, and allow kids to bloom and flower and excel wherever they're drawn to. And it may or may not be, in academics, but they need to have a good education to be able to live, work, and play and be successful down the road. So we need to fight for those kind of people. And I think those are going to be the issues that we carry forward in the election cycles this year, next year, and another month, next year, and the year after, and drive those things home, because the folks that have destroyed the school system or are working on destroying it are the ones that have the power right now.
I mean, I agree. I totally agree. I don't think equity and equality is gonna make our school system any better. I think the children need to be challenged. I think they need to be some sort of challenge place between these kids to actually see a kid thriving, and the other kid wants to get to that level as well, versus keeping that kid who's thriving back so everybody else could be at the same level as that kid.
Did you see the thing? I kind of flashed it on the screen there, but it was exactly what Gary was talking about. And I love that Lieutenant Governor-elect Winsome Sears, she talks about this. I love Virginia. I love Lynchburg. I married my wife in Lynchburg. We lived there for 7 years. But she went and visited Lynchburg, and something like 70 or 75% of kids failed. And you know what the school did? The school system, they just moved them on ahead anyway. And this news article, it in fairness, it is talking about remote learning and how devastating it was. And here they are still trying to do crap like this. But some of the numbers, let's see, 365% increase in kids failing. One course, I think it was 186 increase in failing. Algebra, 182 failing. Grade level, X, grade level Y. And they just lowered the bar. They just said, so 3 out of 4 kids failed. Just send them to the next grade. They'll be fine. And everything we know about education says, one, when you fall behind in reading, then you get to this critical mass where you can never catch up. You will never be able to catch up. And a similar thing happens with math when you go from arithmetic to advanced math. Yeah, but I flashed it on the screen for just a second. If anyone types in the Google something like Lynchburg high school failure rate, you'll find all of these articles. Something's got to be done here in Virginia, because this is embarrassing.
A $2 billion budget. We have the largest budget. LA County doesn't even have that kind of budget, and LA County has more schools than Loudoun County does.
Well, we've come in Loudoun County, and it's been a great blessing, but we've come to expect the best of the best, and we have it, and we should be thankful for it. But you're absolutely right. I mean, that school they built over at Riverside, I'm telling you, that school's. I went to one college, and then I transferred it to another one when I was in college. That high school is nicer than the college facilities I had. Much nicer. The campus may not be quite as big, but it's amazing. I mean, we're building $200 million high schools in Loudoun County, and sometimes that doesn't include the land. And so, the budget is big. The school system was excellent, and you can excel in academics and athletics and all these things when you have the tools at your fingertips to be able to excel. But then to have those tools and to not use them, the other thing they're talking about is when with athletics and these mask and mandates, and not just the mask mandates, but the vaccine mandates. And a lot of parents are pushing back on this because of the vaccine mandates on young kids. And these kids are athletes in order to be able to participate. When I was on the school board, and that's been 15 years ago, but I can tell you that of our scholarships, they always like to talk about the scholarships. I think it was almost 80% of them came from athletics, because it's so hard today to get merit-based scholarships. Most of them are need-based, and so Loudoun County is a wealthy county, so it doesn't generate a lot of need-based scholarships. So almost all of our scholarships for athletics. When you go screwing around with athletics, you're not going to have any scholarships in this county. And a lot of those athletic scholarships go to kids that might not be the kids that are the stellar students all the time. And I'm not. Their interest is focused on athletics, and some of them are kids, minority kids that have an opportunity to get out and get into college, and you're gonna end up taking that away from them as well. I mean, it's absolute madness.
Do you think we should have more charter schools versus public schools? I think charter schools are more focused on academics than anything else.
Well, and they're run within the system, but outside of it. Yeah, I think we should, and that's one of the things that
they're competitive.
Is that we're going to start putting up charter schools in the state of Virginia. I mean, we have a handful. I think there's, what do you say, 20 some?
We got 8 in the entire state.
What's that?
We have 8 in the
state. Oh my gosh, worse than I thought. We have a handful in the whole state. I mean, I think something like Maryland has 180, North Carolina has 300 or something. This is madness. Why don't we have them? Because the teachers associations have got the school boards all by the throat, and they won't do it.
And that's exactly what I think. I think Loudoun County alone should have about 8 because of the population, because of the budget.
Can we myth bust on the fly here? This is the perfect thing to throw up this screen share. So
Yeah.
everyone, this is why we talk about we just being generally conservatives, but Gary, myself, and Demis, this is why we advocate for school choice. This is why we want charter schools. Charter schools make education competitive, where you compete for the student. It's not guaranteed based on where the boundary lines have fallen that you will get the child. And I'm tired of hearing the red herring bullcrap excuse. Oh, well, the poor single mom out there can't afford to send their kid. Bullcrap. This is right now in Loudoun County, Virginia. It's
free.
$14,300 some odd dollars per pupil. That's a $14,500 check that is provided for each student. This is the current budget, the FY22 Loudoun County School Board budget. They want it to be $16,995, $17,000 per pupil. This is it right here for the 81,000 students. Well, here's the question. If you give that mom, that couple, that single parent, whatever, you give them a check for $18,000 or for $17,000, they can afford, and it can only be used for education. They can afford to send their kid to a better school. The government is squandering these funds, probably paying legal fees to keep Tanner Cross in court and to defend criminals and to keep Scott Ziegler as superintendent. That's what they're doing with the funds now.
Well, the
but I
recall
digress.
cost $20,000, dude. Just the recall cost us $20,000.
Well, I'll tell you something that's interesting. You guys may or may not know, and I don't know what level of funding they've been giving it lately, but this kind of arrangement in the state of Virginia in higher education is not unknown. When our middle daughter went to college, she went to a private college in the state of Virginia, and the legislature at that time was funding a program called tuition assistant grants. And there was grants from the state for kids going to in-state private schools for college. Now, this was not, high school or middle school, but this is for college. So that kind of a system already exists or existed in Virginia. And so it's not a foreign concept. It's not something that Virginia doesn't know exactly how to do or exactly how to handle. And my daughter got a tuition assistance grant because she was going to that in-state school during the time that she was there. And if it's good for college, why is it not good for high school, middle school, and elementary school?
Yeah, I totally agree. Well, hopefully with Mr. Youngkin getting in, we could change some of this stuff. We could change the allocation. We could get the charter schools in place so we could actually have some sort of choice. I mean, I'm all for school choice. And here's the thing. I think most of our teachers are great people. They're great teachers. They absolutely love their job. I think this is the micromanagement coming from the higher up, who trying to play into the woke hand, into the people who are trying to push an agenda, and they're just pushing it onto the teachers. And I think most of the teachers, they don't want to do what's being asked of them to do. Which
I don't disagree. The ones that I know, they're conscientious and they want to teach the kids. And a lot of them, wanted to get the schools open. I mean, if there was a silver lining to this whole COVID thing, when we couldn't get them a year and a half ago to be reasonable and open the schools up, then parents had the opportunity to see what was going on in the classroom, and all of these other things came to light. So it's given us an opportunity to clean house, hopefully, and clean this stuff up and get the school system back. I mean, school choice, I think it's a great idea. I think that by what these folks have done, that they're going to see a big increase in school choice because of the growth in homeschooling in the private schools. And then when parents, I mean, it's interesting. A lot of this stuff that we're dealing with right now has been talked about, or there's been rumors about it, but there was never an opportunity to look under the rug. And COVID gave us the opportunity to look under the rug and see what was really going on, and found out that these people that were, sort of making the clarion call were absolutely right. There's all kinds of stuff going on that shouldn't be going on. And if we can't clean the system up, and even if we can clean the system up, parents and kids should have the opportunity to go to the school they want to go to, and find some way, whether it's charter schools or private schools or home schools or parochial schools, that their financial investment in education should be able to follow them. And it could come in not just any one way, but lots of ways. But I think it's going to be real interesting to see the kind of enthusiasm you see for that. We're going to see that in the future that we haven't seen in the past, because people were just too busy, working, living, and trying to raise a family.
So I'm gonna stay away from the school thing for a little bit. I want to ask you about the this social system budget that's being passed under the Biden administration. Do you think we need that much money to spend at this point? Do you think it's even worth it?
I don't know what's in it. Nobody knows what's in it. You have to pass it, and then you can find out what's in it. But this constant spending of money that we don't have is madness. And I can't believe that we can continue like this for very long without the whole system crashing. Because when they spend money, trillions of dollars that they don't have, it's a backdoor tax. There's only so much money out there, or there's only so many goods out there. And so when you inflate the amount of money, then there's twice as many dollars chasing the same amount of goods. So when you start throwing all this money that they don't have, that nobody has, and just spending it, you're stealing it from people that are working. You're inflating. I mean, look at the price of gasoline, for crying out loud. I can fill my tank today. It's twice what it cost me a year ago. Twice.
I just pumped gas today. It was $65.
That's just one thing. I saw a list. I don't know what it was, of all the different price increases just since Biden's been in office. The guy hadn't been in office for 10 months. It's madness what's going on, and this spending money that we don't have on the amount of money from that latest bill they passed. It's actually going to go into infrastructure, which would create jobs. Is an infinitesimal amount of the money that they're spending. It's just throwing money at every social program and socialist program they can find, and we're gonna rue the day, because someday we got to pay for all this stuff, and they don't have the money, so they just print it.
He hasn't been in office for a year yet, and we already see a destruction of this country. I swear to God, I'm not even joking.
We're bankrupt.
With the price of food, the increase of it's insane. It's insane. Our Costco trip has gone from average $240, $250 a trip to almost $400 for the same products. You know what I mean? Like, we have not changed. Like, we're buying less now, and the price has gone up.
No,
the grocery purchase, it's gone up. Gas has gone up. Anything like tires, services.
Sounds like a conspiracy. It's just in your mind, boys.
I have a money tree growing in the backyard, so I could go pick out the dollars, so I could go spend it. I guess this is outrageous. This is how do you think the midterm election is going to go next year? Do you think Republicans are going to take over the House and Senate? Because I'll be honest with you, I don't think the Republican Party at this point has any backbone to pull anything. I'm just being honest.
Well, I think it depends on the Republican. There are more conservative and more liberal Republicans, and I'm disappointed with some of the things that some of them do myself. Having said that, I look at the alternative, and it's I'd have to go out and just wander in the wilderness someplace. We've got to bring into the party and have candidates that are, solid fiscal conservatives, that are solid conservatives generally, and get those kind of candidates nominated and elected. I do think the Republicans are going to take back the House of Representatives. Apparently, the Republican National Committee sees Virginia as a place where we can take back as many as even 3 seats. So we're going to see, I think, the same kind of a campaign on the same kind of issues that we saw this year, because if these unyielding to continue on the way they've been going, then God bless them. I think we're going to, blow a bunch more of them out of office, because the people, this isn't what the people didn't vote for dumbed down schools. The people didn't vote for defunding the police. The people didn't vote for putting people out on the street that have murdered police officers. The people didn't vote for, in fact, they voted for people that were going to increase your SROs in schools, not for defunding that program or reducing the funding. So all of these things are going to still be on the table next year. And we just need to make sure that the people that are going to be out to vote are aware of what's going on and what has been going on, and what these people are all about, because they're not about doing the things that they said they were going to do. They're about a hard left agenda, and it's we've lived it, and it hadn't even been a year yet, like you said, and here we are. Everything seems to be going up in smoke, like prices and everything else. I'll tell you the other thing that,
jobs alone.
What's that?
Jobs alone.
Yeah.
With the vaccine mandate kicking in, how many jobs were lost? How many people became unemployed? I don't know. I don't understand what is the point of taking this path. I understand they want to be a dictatorship. I understand they want to be communists about how they control the system. I get it. I've lived it. I know how it is. I know how these people think. By forcing stuff down people's throat, this is how they want to gain control. And I'm just wondering, do they really know, or are they playing stupid that they don't think some sort of revolution or some sort of civil war is going to happen? Do you think people are going to sit back and take everything they're pushing down their throat?
Well, I think that, from my perspective, I think there's 2 kinds of people on the left. There are those that are hard left that know exactly what they're doing and understand what you're talking about. There's a whole bunch of others that I would say are, useful idiots for them, that are going along with this because somehow they believe that is the right way.
Hey Gary, I think we cut you out. You got your internet froze up.
That people are waking up, and I do think that they realize that this is not the way they want to go. But all this money they're spending and all these other things, this is, like I think you said, they want to crash the system. If they can crash the system, then it can give them the power to come in with something new. Shall we spend until the economy collapses? You talking about jobs? Here we are. We're paying people to stay home. You have the service industries can't find people to work, and the hospitality industries, because they can make as much money almost staying at home doing nothing, or at least they can survive. And now on top of that, we forced this vaccine mandate, and those that are willing to work are being forced to quit because they're not going to comply with the tyranny of the mandate. Is this madness or what? And so you have to think that they're trying to crash the system so that they can claim, see, this free enterprise system, it doesn't work. Look what happened to it. Well, these people destroyed it.
The good thing is we see people like Elon Musk moving out of liberal states like California. We see we saw last year, we saw a big transition of these Silicon Valley companies moving away from California because of how strict they were being, how I don't want to say tyrant. Tyrant is it's too good of the word to waste on these people. I think that California. I lived in California. That's the sad part. I lived in California for 15 years, and the way it's been handled there, it's just the worst. It's like worse than Australia. I mean, I don't think anything can get worse than Australia, but the amount of money being dumped in that state, the amount of money being wasted, and the way how the government is handling that state, like where everything's shut down, you cannot have more than there's so much restrictions down there, and if you don't have a vaccine, then you're screwed. And they want to use that state as a model for what? It has the worst economy. California has the worst economy in entire United States, and they keep talking. Oh, California has 5+ GDP. That's it. And these people don't understand economics. They don't understand, like, there's so much federal funding being dumped in that state. If you take that away, the GDP will drop to like -2.
Do you know why California doesn't have socialized medicine? I love telling leftists this. They ran the numbers and they found out that it would bankrupt the state, just like any state that is completely controlled by leftists, where they have the government trifecta, Democrat in the governor's office, the House, the Senate, and House delegates, whatever they got, full Democrats. None of those states, California included, have socialized healthcare. Because the government doesn't have a job. The government prints money. The government doesn't make money. It doesn't add value to the world. It consumes the fruits of the labors of people that do add value. Anyway, they figured it wouldn't work because it would bankrupt their state. So they said, let's do it bigger and let's nationalize healthcare at the national level, and that would work. It wouldn't work in the state, but do it for the nation, and that will magically make it work.
And I think that's the thing. I think people think, oh, because it's a blue state, it's a good state to be in because it protects equity and equality. No, it's a socialist state. That's what it turns into. It turns into something socialist where you just give out. It's just handouts, and people argue that with me, and I give them a good example. I said, look, how much are your gas prices in California versus Virginia? There's almost a $2 difference in gas prices per gallon. And I tell them, I said, we pump the same gas. Except in California, that $2 difference is all tax. It's all tax. Gotta apologize to the audience. I'm fighting a cold, so I'm coughing a lot. But the moral of the story is, California has a refinery, but they don't use their own gas. They import gas from other states. So the gas that gets refined in California is not used for California. It gets shipped out to other states, and they import gas into California. And most of the gas taxes for infrastructure repairs and all that. But if you excuse me, if you drive down the street in California, it's the worst pavements ever. The roads are horrible.
The problem with gasoline taxes, and they'll tell you that those taxes are for roads and transportation, but those taxes go right into the general fund. And once it goes into the general fund, they can spend it on whatever they want to. And so they raise the gasoline tax, and then a couple of years later, you don't have any money for roads. Well, guess what happened? They spent all that money on social welfare programs. And the problems that the states have that the federal government doesn't have is that the one that you mentioned, Demas, they can't print money. So they have to balance their budget. They have to actually pay for what they spend. And so they probably ran the number and said, oh my gosh, we put in a socialized medicine program. We're going down the toilet because we don't have the money. They can't raise gas taxes high enough to pay for it. And so that's why, okay, we pass on to the feds. The feds can create the system and they can print money to pay for it until the whole thing collapses. So we're good to go. The sad thing about California, my younger brother lived in California for years, loved the place. He used to boast about how California's economy was just the state of California compared to other countries was one of the largest economies in the world. I don't remember the number. It was like in the top 10. It may have been in the top 5. The state of California. And again, here we go. In probably 20 years they've burned the state down. Now it's, we got flash mobs running into stores in San Francisco and just cleaning the place out, and everybody stands by and watches it happen. I mean, what kind of a state, what kind of a city, what kind of a country is that? Is that where we want to bring the whole country in, like California? Lord help us.
It's sad. I'm telling you, I usually go back to California once a year because my parents live there. I have family out there, and it's gotten worse. It has not gotten better. I was there actually this August. My uncle passed away, and I was driving to church with my parents, and the road that I've driven for the past 27 years, same road to church, from my parents' house to church, has been the same route for 27 years. Has not been paved. The same potholes are still there. 27 years. All I see is like little small patches. The route to my school, my old high school that I used to drive, is still the same. It has not been repaved. And I say, at least in Virginia, we get our roads paved every other year. Our Highway 28 gets paved at least every other year. Route 7 gets paved at least every other year. We have construction going on. We have expansion going on. At least we see the money being spent on construction that actually it's happening. Our metro system, or the gray line that went all the way to Dulles Airport and beyond. So I don't know if they're gonna expand it any further than Chantilly, but I think that's where it's gonna stop. But the problem is, the more you offer social services to people, the less impact is gonna have on your on the economy of that state. And the best thing is, here's what I heard, what I read today. It's a little bit off topic. New York is going to give 800,000 illegal immigrants the right to vote.
What? I haven't heard this.
I would not be surprised if California moves to do that, and other states will follow. Because state of Virginia allows illegal immigrants to obtain a driver license. And I think that's not good. I don't think that's good. I am an immigrant myself. I migrated here legally. When we left Iran, we did not know if we were going to even set foot here or not. But we never had the intention to come here illegally. That's the thing. Everybody has a different path. There is a reason. It's not. This is the problem. People think it's a right to migrate to a different country. It's not a right. It's a privilege.
To ask those people to become a citizen of Canada or France or some other country.
Why they want to come here? Because all the free handouts are here. Because there's so much free money is being given out. So
this is the easiest place to become a citizen.
And here's the problem: my dad's 76 years old. He's still working, and he's a cashier at a gas station. He makes minimum wage. And when I apply for food food stamp or whatever, he gets denied because maximum income in California for you to qualify to get food stamp is $24,000 a year. Can you imagine making $24,000 a year? You can't even make rent. So, anyways, sorry for the rant.
No, that's all right.
I don't want that to happen here, Gary, and I think these kind of there you go. Moves to allow 800 non-citizens to vote in local elections. So,
Nobody that I know of is against immigration. We're all immigrants to this country.
I'm not against it.
And we're not. But I was listening to a podcast where Ben Carson was talking this morning, and he was talking about, but no country can survive without a deliberate, organized system of immigration. You can't just tear the walls down and let everybody come in. You'll crash the system. You'll bankrupt the system. So you've got to do it in an orderly manner. And it's not that we don't have immigration laws on the books, and I won't say they're all perfect, but they exist. It's that the folks in power just will not enforce the law. And, in my view, that's anarchy. What gives them the right to not enforce the laws that have been passed by the Congress that exist on the books, to just say, we're not doing that? I mean, what good is it to have a Congress? What good is it to have a rule of law at all when I can get into power and I can just say, well, I don't
It's
like
because
that
they
law.
want votes. Democrats want votes, and this is the best way to bring them in. Under Biden, we had almost 2 million people illegally cross the border in 10 months. 2 million people in 10 months. Where on top of that, we have an additional 500,000 coming in legally. So that's 2.5 million immigrants coming into a country in less than a year. Can you imagine the stress that's going to put on the economy and the budget and everything else? Because everybody that walks in here, they're not going to walk in with a job. Everyone's going to be on a social program in some way, somehow. They're going to be on food stamp. They're going to be on welfare. They're going to be on Medicare. They're going to be on a bunch of other things for at least minimum of 3 to 5 years. 3 to 5 years.
And if you think about those numbers, we've got 350, 400 million people. If you go to the state of Wyoming, I forget the exact number, but the state of Wyoming, the entire state has like 500,000 people. The whole state of Wyoming is 500,000 people. You just let in 4 states of Wyoming, and who knows, who they are, where they are, or what needs they bring to the table.
And they don't require vaccine mandate. They don't require vaccination. They don't require COVID tests. They don't require anything. We brought thousands of Afghans from Afghanistan. Thousands. I don't even know the number. I don't think anybody knows the number. I don't think we have an exact number how many Afghans came when we did the withdrawal.
Nope. No clue.
No clue. There's no numbers. There absolutely no numbers. And the left will argue, everybody was accounted for, everybody has given a ticket, everyone's been this, no. They're clueless, these people. And I think what they're gonna do is, and we see the midnight flights from Texas to other states where they say they're moving the migrants in 2, 3 in the morning, unaccounted for. And they say, "Oh, these are families of women and children." I didn't know 21-year-olds are still considered as children. So, but this is what we're dealing with, and I honestly, I think we're going downhill very fast, and I don't think this country has the strength at this point with the leadership that it has to protect itself from anything that's coming at it. I think we're going for a crash course really, really fast. Unless something happens. And I don't think anything's going to happen. That's the problem. I think if midterm election happens, I think if Republicans take the House and Senate, if we have any person with a good backbone as a Speaker of the House, I think both Biden and Kamala should be impeached. Because what they're doing now, it's absolutely impeachable offenses on many counts. from breaking federal law, from allowing illegal immigrants coming in, for them situating all these people in certain states so they could gain seats. Not now, but in 10 years when they do the census again. I think that's what the goal is. This is a Chinese method, slow and slow. They're increasing population in certain states so they could increase their seating power. That's my theory on it. I don't know. What do you think, Gary?
Like I said, it seems, I think that they're trying to crash the system. And if they can bring people into certain states, the question about the state of Texas, trying to turn Texas around, is by bringing these folks to Texas and hoping that they're going to vote Democratic. I guess the eternal optimist, and with the results of the election here in Virginia that they said was so blue 2 weeks ago, and what happened in New Jersey with the governor's race, them almost winning there and them knocking out the most important or powerful guy in the Senate. I think that, there's wind at our back and issues that we have that we can, drive home our message, elect the right people, and start taking this country back in the direction that it came from. And so I'm gonna be, hard at it for the next few years doing that. And we got to stay vigilant in the future. I think it was Patrick Henry said, the price of freedom is eternal vigilance. And we left our guard down. We can't afford to do that anymore. And we got to stay active and stay involved and, tell the story. I mean, people like yourself, Demas, with the story that you can tell, it's not theory like a lot of native born Americans, well, we got this economic theory or this political theory or whatever. You've lived it. You've seen it. You've been there. And Z, that's involved with fights for schools, who was in China during the Cultural Revolution. You guys have got to be on the front stage, front and center, telling your story, because this isn't theory. This isn't hypothetical. This is what happens when these type of governments are created and what they do. And it's not about equity for the people. It's about tyranny and pressure and taking rights away from the people. And we've just got to make sure that we keep telling that story and people understand what's at stake.
Absolutely. Joe, do you have any final thoughts?
I'm every day I'm back and forth about, my status on Zoom and Skype and all, and so it's just enjoying the collapse of the Republic. And it's just like, dude, I don't know. It's like every other night I'm like, oh, we're fine, people are speaking up, or no, we're too far down stupidity's rabbit hole. And then the internet doesn't help. I just read a bunch of that article, New York moves to allow non-citizens to vote, and I'm just like, Ben Franklin said it, a republic, if you can keep it. Oh, how does that work? Well, a republic works great so long as you have a well-informed and well-educated populace. Now people are not well informed, and we're certainly not well educated. So we'll keep doing what we're doing, but yeah, we'll see.
Well, Gary, I'd like to thank you for coming on our show. Thank you for all the input that you gave us. I appreciate your time. And for our audience, please hit subscribe, share, and like this page. And please visit our website, realimmigrantcorner.com and thejoemobleyshow.com. With that, we're going to end the episode today, guys. God bless you. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.